In my opinion, the most important thing about optimization is that it's not just about that one KPI. It's about being able to kind of optimize your entire business.
Learn to improve conversions and generate more leads with the video podcast at marketingoptimization.tv.
Hi, and welcome to the Marketing Optimization Podcast with Alex Designs. I'm your host, Alex Harris, and today we're chatting with Talia Wolf. How you doing, Talia?
Great. How are you?
Excellent. To get started, what would be your definition of optimization and why is it beneficial?
In my opinion, the most important thing about optimization is that it's not just about that one KPI. It's about being able to kind of optimize your entire business. So if you do conversion optimization the right way, you're not just going to be, increasing signups or something. You're going to be able to kind of take that, those results and kind of in conclusions and kind of adapt them towards the entire business. So what I believe is that if you're testing correctly, you're basically testing and learning more about your audience. You're learning about your customers. And then the results can help you increase and basically kind of optimize customer service and sales and anything that isn't even online, but can really help you learn. So that for me is conversion optimization, just to be able to actually learn from stuff and be able to take it and adapt it throughout the entire business.
Yeah, I find it interesting how some people do optimization. Oh, we're going to run this test. And that's kind of like, oh, we did split testing. We did it once. And that's not optimization. Optimization is continuous improvement to be more efficient. So we're actually testing. We're probably going to get diminishing returns over a longer period of time, but we're going to learn so much more, and we're going to eventually get that compound effect to build more over those results. But I think one of the concepts that I like hearing you speak about is that a lot of times we test these experiments, but we don't really understand the results and how they really affect our business. So how do you think differently about that?
Well, one of the interesting numbers I was actually reading the other day, that's not really the other day, it was a few months ago, was that 62% of marketers optimize based on intuition. That's a huge thing because at the end of the day, people don't really know what to test. And they're kind of saying, I know, I'll change the call to action button. I'll change the title or something. And then you test it and you have no idea what the results mean. And even more important, not only do you not understand the results, okay, so, this title won the other, but you don't even know what to do next. And that's kind of the biggest thing about conversion optimization. And I think it's true about anything in marketing, that you really have to have a strategy and a plan. You can't just go blindly into it and say, I think I'm going to change the call to action to red. It needs to be much more, you need to have a methodology and you need to kind of not just read into the numbers, which is really important, understand user behavior. But to me, the most important part is the emotional part. And that's kind of understanding why your customers are buying your product. And not because, you have amazing features or because you're better than your competitor, but because you supply this emotional feedback that's going to change their life. I mean, at the end of the day, people buy better versions of themselves. They're looking for something more emotional, something that's going to change their life. Maybe they want to feel loved. Maybe they want to feel, part of a group, a community. Maybe they just want to feel a bit better than others, by buying this product. So for me, conversion optimization is about that. It's about identifying those emotional triggers, understanding who your customer is and what are those emotional triggers you can use to satisfy your customers and increase conversion.
I love it. And we're going to go through some of your methodology particularly, but before, let's get into kind of the mindset of the customer here. When we talk about triggers, people tend to buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. So somebody has some type of event that's coming up. So there's some type of emotional trigger that happens in their everyday life. So, I need to buy a new outfit for this, or I need to buy some new shoes for this event that I'm going to. So there's some type of emotional trigger that connects them in their real life. So they have this problem that they need to fix. They go to Google, they type in some type of query, and then they arrive at our user experience to now start optimizing it to get them to actually purchase. So understanding those real triggers, and that's where we're going to kind of dig into your methodology, understanding how to help businesses generate more revenues using emotional targeting and user behavior data. So take us a little bit through that methodology that you use to apply to your tests and learn from your customers.
It was Dan Ariely that said, people buy on emotion, but justify by logic. So we like to convince ourselves that we buy on logic, but the majority of our decision makings in life are very much emotional, and they're based on our surroundings and the way things are presented to us. Methodology works is that we're basically trying to combine kind of two different areas. So as the world kind of progresses, we can see that it's going towards an automatic one. That's a biker there. Constantly looking to automate stuff, and they call it personalization. So I can identify that someone's coming from the US and they're in Chicago and it's 9 a.m. And then I, as a shop, I can say, good morning, we ship to Chicago, right? And that's kind of a personalization part, which is great. And it's nice. And you can really, by really good segmentation, you could probably find out a lot about your customers. Whether, how old they are, where they come from, female, male, and it's very behavioral. But at the end of the day, we keep forgetting that there's someone behind the screen. There's a human, there's a human there, a person that's buying, who wants to get something. And he's probably purchasing on an emotional decision. And that's where we kind of, after we've analyzed all the behavior, we start analyzing the emotion. So we kind of dig into different research. We work a lot on competitors' research, on marketing trends, on the market itself, and kind of the product itself, and try to really identify who the customer is. So we also build personas and profiles, and we kind of try to hypothesize what are the different emotional triggers that can be used. We've identified over 220 emotional triggers. So it's huge amount of emotional triggers that can be used. But basically, we never know what they are until we test. So we have an hypothesis. We think, let's use, the soft info. Let's use the time emotional trigger, or maybe it's, kind of putting pressure in people, or maybe kind of intimidating people. So you kind of choose the different emotional triggers. And then what we do is we take both of them research, which is the emotional and the behavioral, we combine them, and we create designs. We create tests. So we have an internal design team, and we create landing pages and registration forms, and we actually test entire funnels. So we'll do different A/B testings. And the idea, the most important thing, is not actually to win, but it's to be able to understand the results, so that when a test wins, or even if it loses, I can say, this strategy worked better than the other. This is the direction I should be going. So it's not, the red versus the blue, I don't know what that means. It's more about, so this landing page had these colors, this messaging, this structure, this worked better than the other. And I can kind of hypothesize and say, I think I know why that worked. Now let's continue optimizing. And that's kind of the cycle that we go through, constantly kind of looking for new ideas, a new strategy that we can test that will teach us more about the users.
Yeah, doing that research up front, really the more research you do, you're really going to get the better results. And as we kind of started this interview, we kind of talked about eventually you're going to kind of run out of ideas, or you have too many ideas and you don't know where to kind of start. I think that's the most important part of the aspect of a hypothesis, is gathering all that research into your hypothesis and really building out all of the prioritization of where your opportunity is, where the most traffic is going on your website, and combining that with where the emotional triggers are. So, combining the quantitative data with the qualitative data, so you can really start optimizing in the right way. Are you prioritizing those hypotheses in a certain way to figure out their potential ROI?
At the end of the day, we try to come up with different ideas for testing, but there's kind of this rush of people who start testing to kind of jump to the bottom of the funnel. So especially when you're talking about e-commerce, I need to increase sales, I'm going to go to the shopping cart. Or if it's a landing page that wants to work on registrations, then working on the registration form itself, or the pricing page. One of the things that we try to do is really, as you said, is really combine the idea of really understanding data and understanding where's the best place to start optimizing. I can come up with a lot of ideas, but at the end of the day, the best thing about the online world is that you actually have data that you can use to measure stuff. So we definitely kind of dig deeper into the numbers and try to find the right points. And for us, the majority of the time, we found that if you start at the top of the funnel, you can make the biggest impact, because at the end of the day, that's where you're getting the most traffic, that's where you're getting the most conversions, and you can learn much quicker. And then once you've kind of optimized that part of the funnel, you can slowly move down towards the next part of the funnel and kind of really learn in a methodological way, how to test, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, because at every single part of the funnel, you're probably going to have different metrics for success. At the top of the funnel, yes, conversion is very important, but they have to click to the next page. So you want to make sure that you're not reducing clicks on your tests. So make sure that you have a KPI for engagement or clicks, aside from revenue and conversion rate. So making sure that at every single point of your hypothesis, you have a metric of success to get people to that next level. Then, from your data and your fundamentals, your research, that way you can prioritize which tests you're going to run as well. Now, are there any particular tools that you're using to gather this data?
Well, there's a few tools that I've been using, that our team has been using. Probably divide them into two. So half of them are to gather data, and the other half are more to test. So in gathering data, our favorite tool, it's no secret, we're constantly talking about, is Hotjar. We really enjoy using that tool because you can really basically you can identify the entire funnel with them, from acquisition, from the understanding, why people are coming into your website, to what they're doing on your website and what they felt after. So it's kind of a really cool tool to be able to use instead of using multiple tools, having a heat map, having a survey, different tools that basically kind of you add to your site and you're probably spending a ton of money on. Hotjar has miraculously been able to kind of combine all these tools together and kind of create something that's cheaper and gives you some great results. So we've definitely been using Hotjar for a while now to identify, mainly using their heat maps to really kind of identify what customers are doing, what users are doing on our customers' sites. And we've also been using their surveys to kind of identify what people are looking for, how is the experience and stuff like that. And then the other thing that we've been using is more tools to actually test. So we've started using a tool called Banana Splash, which is a mobile web. I'm very big on mobile in general. Mostly people focus on web, and then when it comes to mobile, companies tend to either go for a responsive design, which isn't an optimization strategy, or creating dedicated landing pages. And to be honest, I think most companies can't afford, to either create an app or to create, entire kind of responsive designs. And even if you can create a responsive design because you're using a template, it's usually just taking the widescreen and making it smaller. Yep. And that's kind of saying, whoever's on desktop uses mobile exactly the same, which is completely incorrect.
Yeah.
And there aren't really good tools out there for mobile. We've been looking for quite a while. I'm shamelessly promoting this because I'm a board member of this company, so I'm just going to put this out and say that. But I'm really proud of them because they've been doing some amazing work in just helping companies that have a ton of mobile traffic and mobile web traffic. And that's what usually our clients have, a lot of mobile web traffic that isn't converting. So it's a really cool tool that kind of helps you use, kind of trigger messages and collect actions. So that's kind of my two favorite tools right now. We also use Envision, more on the collaborative side. It helps in two ways. If you're kind of wanting to collaborate on design and product within, actually might be really cool for you, Alex. So if you want to show your customers designs, you can use that. It kind of allows you to simulate how it would look in real life without any development skills or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And you can kind of get your customers to, point different areas that they have comments or whatever. Or if you're working with customers, you can show it to them. If you're working with product or marketing or whatever, it's just a really cool tool to kind of collaborate on.
And that
so
makes
those
sense.
are the three.
It's like kind of like a prototyping tool, so you can get feedback on mock-ups before they go to dev and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, maybe you'll understand it better, but when you're sending a design to someone, it always feels kind of, bad, like to send someone a design over like online instead of kind of presenting it and explaining. Mm-hmm. So InVision kind of helps you put it in a screen and makes you see, what happens if you click on stuff, and you can really simulate the whole funnel. And it's really nice because it's kind of friendly, like user friendly, and you can get really good comments and you can kind of collaborate on that. So that's kind of just our internal favorite product right now.
Very cool. And particularly with Hotjar, I use it myself. I'm actually testing it on my site. Actually, I test a lot of stuff on my own site before I test on client sites. So I'm using Hotjar right now, and I use the heat maps and I use the polls. Is there any maybe tips for someone who's getting started using Hotjar to get the best out of it? Right now I'm testing the surveys. If you go halfway down the page, it kind of pops up. I don't know if there's any tips or tricks to getting the best out of Hotjar.
I actually think that one of the they have a few really cool features. One of them is the visitor playback. Have you used that before?
It's like the screen captures.
So what it does, here's the thing. I get a lot of questions from clients if they should do user testing. So that's when you pay like 1,000 people. They go on your website, you ask them different questions, and then they can kind of answer and tell you what they thought. But, as it works in psychology, when someone asks you a question, you do your best to answer the way you think people want your response. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to ask. I don't really find it too realistic when you're asking people questions and kind of paying them to go online to answer questions. Yeah. It's just kind of, to me, it's not really the best painted picture. Mm-hmm. So there are quite a few tools out there that allow you, and Hotjar does the same, that allows you to kind of do visitor playback. So you can actually go back and see recordings of people on the screen. Mm-hmm. So that's a really cool thing to be using. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I think the heat maps are really, really nice because one of the things that they do is they generate really cool reports. And I think heat maps, and Angie Schottmuller was saying this on our webinar about a month ago, that to gather people around and to get people kind of around, on board with CRO, using heat maps is a great way, because if they have a good reporting tool, you can show people the results and they get really excited about it. Yeah. And most heat map companies that I've seen and used in the past don't really generate nice, good-looking reports. And there's nothing you can do about it. You have to have a good-looking report that you can explain. So I definitely use that to kind of show my team what we've been doing and how it's been working, and it really gives you some interesting insights. So
yeah, a lot of people talk. I've been in a number of conferences recently, and some people say that heat maps are useless.
Wow. Okay.
And for me as a designer, I use them all the time, because in particular, once we know where people are going on the site, particularly the top landing pages, the top pages that people are visiting directly, we want to know what they're doing on those pages. And really the only way to do that is through heat maps and screen captures. And, in a particular landing page, obviously the call to action area, that's going to be the focal point. That's going to have the most clicks. But what are those other 2 or 3 areas that are getting those other clicks that maybe have the leaks? In the footer, how many people are actually clicking on that about button and so forth?
Yeah, actually, we have a client that is an e-commerce site. They sell wall decals. Fantastic company. They're called Wall Monkeys. Love them. And one of the things that we did when we started out is we used these heat maps. And we noticed that 90% of the people were using the search bar to start their purchasing, like their purchase kind of, the shopping experience. They're using the search. And we did kind of different changes and stuff to to optimize it. So we moved it forward and we kind of moved it down, and you can check it out on our website, the whole case study. But what I wanted to say is it kind of brings me back to my first point at the beginning about why you do conversion optimization. It's in order to learn and to be able to kind of optimize your entire site and business. And one of the best things that came out of this heat map, just by using them, was that they realized that because everyone's using search, they have to optimize search. And when they kind of looked further into it, they realized that search wasn't that good. And people were getting kind of bad results. And like they were writing animals and they were getting anim, like Japanese comic things. So they spent a ton of time in optimizing that. And that completely changed the website. And it increased conversions. You know, the work with them, the design that we did, and optimizing the search bar increased the revenues by like 500%. It was insane. So people who say heat maps aren't good, no comment.
There you go. But you bring up a good point that I've heard that time and time again. A lot of people, yes, in e-commerce, they want to search. And yes, people are going to search, but more than likely, it's easy for people to do that. It's actually more important how you present the search results in order to get people to actually act on the intent that they're doing. So great point. Take a look, if you do have an e-commerce site or even a blog, take a look at how your search results are actually presented. And not only on desktop, make sure you check out mobile and iPad too. And just talking about mobile before we move on, make sure that you QA your own site in your own mobile experience. I don't know how many times I go to client sites and they're like, oh, I have no mobile conversions, or I have no mobile email opt-ins. You can't find the button. It's like, it's just not there. Scroll. Because what they do is they take their responsive site, it collapses everything, it makes the page twice as long, and it pushes all the call to actions down below the fold. So please just make sure that you QA your own mobile site, and then you may have to do a little bit of hacking to get your main call to actions into your responsive site. It's very easy to do with WordPress. It's very easy to do with whatever e-commerce software that you're using, Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce. It's all very easy to do. And we actually hack the mobile experience to generate more email opt-ins. So make sure you have an email opt-in above the fold on your mobile experience, but not on your shopping cart pages.
Yeah, so that was, me shamelessly kind of promoting Banana Splash, because that's what they do. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. I want you to probably introduce me to them. I would love to interview them on the show.
Oh, perfect. I would love that.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
So talking a little bit about the shopping cart, I know that you do talk about figuring out exactly why people don't check out. Are you using Hotjar to maybe pop open a query when they go to their back button to ask them why or why not they're converting? How do we figure out why people are not checking out of our carts?
We've been using a few tools. One of them is Hotjar, and the other one is Zopim, the chat. So obviously you're never really going to get exact results, and people are going to answer, what they think they want you to hear. But we've noticed a few things. We've been using a few tools. One of them is Zopim, one of them is Hotjar, and we've also been doing email marketing and kind of inbound marketing of just trying to email people and say, we noticed that you kind of sign off and you didn't really complete your purchase. Why was this? So obviously most of the people don't answer. But if you give enough incentive and you kind of make that connection, the personal connection with the person, you'd find some really interesting results. So yeah, the surveys and the polls by Hotjar, fantastic tool for that. The Zopim chat is very good because you can actually kind of move in exactly when someone's, in the purchasing decision. You can see that someone isn't completing it, or if they are, and you can kind of jump straight in there and start talking to them. Another actually cool tool that you could use, not everyone can use it, is Intercom.io. Do you know it? Intercom.io is a very, very cool platform that allows you to basically pop messages and segment within the product. So usually you'll do it within kind of SaaS products and stuff like that. But basically, you can segment users with Intercom.io and kind of see who hasn't logged in over 2 weeks, who logged in yesterday but hasn't completed a purchase. And then you can send them targeted messages within the product or to their email. and kind of really segment it beautifully. So they've been doing an amazing job. We've been using them for maybe 3 years now. So fantastic. If you have the product that, with signups and people that you can follow, fantastic tool to use.
Let's talk a little bit about you. What's conversioner.com? What do you guys do, and how can people get a hold of you?
About me, I'm a skydiver, which is the first thing I always say. I'm a skydiver, and I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. Those are like the two things that identify me.
There you go.
Just, putting it out there. So in case you want to surprise me, Harry Potter. Anyway, so that's that. Conversioner has been around for 3.5 years. And as I said, we focus on conversion optimization, and we kind of help businesses increase their conversion rates across the board. And we really focus on combining the emotional and the behavioral targeting together, so that you can learn more and that you can take these tools and then continue optimizing yourself later on. That's about us. And basically, we write a ton of stuff. So we have a kind of very big blog that focuses a lot on psychological triggers, emotional triggers. So if you want to get into the emotional aspect and start kind of introducing psychological triggers and understand how the brain works and kind of like how you can start using persuasive design, then our blog is a great place to start. So it's at conversioner.com/blog. And then another great way to reach us is on Twitter. I love answering questions there. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm Talia GW. You can start kind of guessing what the G stands for. There's a contest going on for like 5 years trying to understand what is the G. So it's Talia GW. W is for wolf, obviously, but then let's see.
It's gorgeous.
No, it's not. but thank you. But no, it's my second name. So that is like people keep kind of sending me, it's Gwendolyn, it's Gwyneth. No, but whatever.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so that's that. So Twitter and on our website. And I'm constantly in all sorts of events. So I speak at different events. Where am I going? I'm going to Opticon next month, and I'm going to be speaking there about emotions and conversions. So definitely meet me there if you're there. Or if you want to meet up and just have a meeting, let's do that. I'm going to be at the Call to Action conference in Unbound, which is going to be epic, according to you, Alex.
Yes, great last year.
Yeah, and I'm also going to go to the Pirate Summit, which is the best marketing for startups event in Europe. It's in Cologne. You have to go.
Is that related to Pirate Metrics, or is it just being pirate?
Just Pirate Summit.
Interesting. Because there's that whole R acronym.
Yes, the R, exactly. And it's all about, basically, it's like a huge festival in this amazing venue in Cologne. I can't say Köln, it just never works. In Cologne. They bring on amazing speakers and amazing startups, and it goes on for like 3 days, and they have workshops, and it's just really, really cool. And it's in a venue where you've never been to. It basically looks like an old garage kind of thing, and it's really good. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
To close out, what would you tell your fellow optimizers, other people who are running agencies, to really take their client sites or their own sites, take those conversion rates to that next level?
Probably what I started with, which is start thinking about strategy, start thinking about not optimizing based on intuition, and don't be afraid to ask. I mean, there's not a lot out there, but there's starting to be a very big following of people who can help and answer your questions. And there's so much content there. So go for strategies, build a plan, and get everyone on board, and try and bring the company around, on board with conversion optimization, and really start focusing not on the one metric, but more on the whole. How can I make my business better? How can I optimize the shopping experience? And I think the last thing I'd say is stop thinking about your product and about yourself, and start thinking about the customer. So it's not about how your product is the number one solution for whatever. It's about how you make a change in your customer's life. And if you can focus on that, you will increase conversions immediately.
Excellent.
That's it.
Thank you for watching the Marketing Optimization Podcast with Alex Designs. Please remember to subscribe to all the videos in my YouTube channel. Thank you.